Hello, Billy the Artist here, back with a new how to draw lesson. Had a little bit of a break, it's been really lovely in these interesting times, but today we are going to be drawing Luna Lovegood. Yep, we're going to do her from when she first appeared, and she's a great character. A lot of you have asked for her. But do, before we go any further, like and subscribe, tick the bell to be notified when new how to draw videos will appear, and do use the hashtag drawing with Billy as well. That would be fantastic. And just I love encouraging you how to draw just using simple pencils. Like I say, this is my trusty 2B pencil, and we've got all the others. I use 2B, 4B, 8B, and we've done all of these. There are loads in the Harry Potter. Check out the link in the cards and in the description for the Harry Potter playlist. There are now lots, and I will be adding more and more. People keep asking for lots of different things, and it's great. It's a joy to see people enjoying the drawing. There is Harry, there is Sir Richard Harris. I have done all three of the Dumbledores with Michael Gambon taking over, as you will see. There he is. There's Michael doing his thing, but we also did Jude Law from Fantastic Beasts as the younger Dumbledore, and there's the Dark Lord himself. And like I say, we've done all of those, and there are many, many more. Hagrid, Bellatrix, Sirius Black, Snape, Malfoy. There's all the badges of the houses and Hogwarts and Ollivanders, and I did the HP of the Harry Potter logo as well. Just a nice simple one, and I just love encouraging you to draw. So do check out that. There is also the portraits playlist. There is the how to draw. There's more than 130 lessons on there now. Lots of other videos, time lapses, all kind of stuff, and I do condense these down into time lapses. But please do share. If you want me to do these more and more and more, then share. My channel needs to take off. That would be fantastic. I love the encouragement that you guys give me. It's amazing, and I just love teaching you these basics of how to do everything. So do share like crazy and encourage more people to watch and share the videos. But here we have an A4 piece of paper. This is what we are going to do the lesson on. Now, I've divided it up into 2 centimetre square grids, but there's a bit of a border around. If you check the banner right now, it's got the dimensions on for this. Now I start 5 centimetres in. The reason is it's this line. It's the centre line, 105. A4 paper is 210 millimetres by 297. 21 centimetres by 29.7 centimetres down the length. Now, I do this grid to make it simple, but I also use shapes. There is a video first, check the link in the cards and in the description. It shows me laying this grid down in real time, and the others that I use for my other drawings, my other drawing lessons. And it's really, really simple. It makes drawing something that seems very complex, very easy. The actual grids that you see on the reference photo, now do screenshot the reference photo. You'll go, oh, can you put a link to it? It's on the screen for you while I'm drawing it. Screenshot it. You do it that way. It's brilliant. That's why I put these up, because the image on the internet may move. It's just one of those things. But this is where I use these grids to make it really simple. Nobody told me simple techniques when I was a younger person 40 odd years ago learning to draw. And I have had such joy showing you all how to do these drawings. Now, these lines, like I say, they start at 5 mil in, and then the 20 millimetres or 2 centimetres all the way across and down. And I do that so that it's very, very simple. I then use simple shapes. Check out right now in the cards and the description how to draw anything part 1. It teaches you how to draw anything from a bird, a bee, a flea, a tree, a horse, a house, or anything else by using very simple shapes. Well, even though I use this grid, and the grid on the reference photo is, I put it in using software called Pixelmator. Any image editing graphics software, basics that you can do layers in, you should be able to put lines on. That's all that I do. Now, you can draw anything using shapes. Now, using a grid, you can just go straight in and draw the outline down, but you see me putting these basic shapes down first because it helps. It just teaches you to put the proportions in correctly. Now, you can do it without the grids, which is fine, but the grids help you develop your techniques very, very quickly, and it makes it simpler and easier when you don't have a large amount of time. And nobody taught me this when I was learning. It took years and years and years of practice to get better and better at drawing. But again, this is why I do this. I love sharing these techniques with you. So anyway, right now we are going to get on and we are going to draw Luna. So we come in with the trusty 2B pencil. Got stuff on. Just brush that off my paper. But we are going to now draw Luna Lovegood. And we're going to start with these basic shapes. So here, if you see up at the top, on the 105 centre line, between 5 and 25, we're going to start, and I'm just going to put the mark, and we're going to put in her head. And her head comes over past the 145 line. Now, her head is tilted, and you can see here we've got an eye. So I'm just going to draw this box in first, come out to the 85, and we come down below the 85. So I'll put a large box in, which is the shape of the complete outer shape of her head. Now, and Luna's such a brilliant character as well. She's just great. It's just a very quirky character. And Evanna Lynch knew she was going to be Luna. A fantastic story, backstory of how she got the job of being Luna Lovegood. Now, by the 125 line, here we've got her nose underneath the 65. So the 125 vertical below the 65. So here I'm drawing kind of little rectangle, just putting a line in for that eyebrow. And then I'm putting a very little box in for her right eye. And then again, right down here, we've got a little box for her left eye. Now, we've got another box here, which is going to be that eyebrow above. Now we can see here, coming down below her nose, the 125/85, we have got where the side of a cheek is. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a rectangle, and then coming up across the top here we've got the rectangle shape for her face, and a chin comes down underneath. So there's the rectangle shape for a face. We want a little box on here, a rectangle for the collar that's going to come up. That's the collar at the back, and then you've got a fantastic earrings. But we're going to come and we're going to put in a little rectangle for her ear, and then the shape of her hair. So there's that one, and we want another rectangle for the hair coming off over the top, and then a rectangle coming down, and it goes through the 145 line on this side. So, and then we've got this fantastic shape of her hair cascading down. Now here we've got coming down underneath on the 125 line. As you can see, we've just got the hair that's going to come down. But I'm just going to draw a big box actually first. So coming down to the 145 horizontal line and 145, we've got a little triangle there that actually becomes a diamond, and that's the shape of that blonde hair that's going to go there. And you can see how we've just got the curves and how they follow around. Now here, between the 105 and 125, you can see you've just got like a D shape, and that's that curve that then becomes a C as the curve of the hair comes down. The curls just start to cascade down, and you can follow them down. You see we're crossing the 165 line to the 185, and got another couple of Ds of curls there that are coming down. And this is the thing, using the grids and using boxes, you don't have to stay in one particular place. You can just move around as your eye takes you. And we've got another D of a curl there. Here you can see coming across now. See, that one comes halfway. And then this one comes about 2/3 of the way. And that's like a B there. And we've got the curl coming behind. And then this one below the 245 line. That's quite a large D shape there. But then behind it we've got a C. You can see we've got a C shape there. And then these curves come down on the 165 right to the bottom. Now here we've got, coming up to the 185, we've got a triangle, and that's the edge of a skirt going up onto a jumper. And you can see there, you just got this triangle shape. And then we need to come up, and then it curves across just that little bit there. Now on the 185 line, to the right of the, well, between the 125 and 145, we've got her cork necklace. So we just got a little rectangle that we've put in. And then here we've got this fantastic U shape that we're going to bring all the way up, and you can see that that goes right through the centre line and the 125 line. And it continues to go up right to the collar. And then we can follow that curve and just curve that up. Now here on the tie, on the 125 line, we've got a V. And that goes up, and that's the edge of her tank top jumper. Then we've got a kind of rectangle for the knot at the top, and then you can imagine the rectangle there. And then we've just got some diagonal lines for the stripes. And then we've got inside the collar the neck. So we've got the neckline that comes up right just to the right of the centre line, and then that's going to curve off. And then we just want a little D shape there, a little curve, and that's the collar on the right hand side. Now her lips in this box from the 105 to 125, we just need a nice little rectangle to indicate where her lips go. And that's where that goes. And then we can just bring the curve up. Again, we're just putting loose shapes in very quickly. So here on the 125 line, we've got her very strange dice-like earrings. So a little box and then a box behind on that one. Again, the same on this side. We can see the hoop going through her ear. So we just do a little hoop, and then we've got a little rectangle underneath for the red, and then off we've got the green ones behind, and then there's a little kind of triangle of white that comes off. Now her arm, her right arm, we're going to come up to the 105 line. We've just got a curve that comes up. We're just building that shape on. Now coming all the way down to the left of the 45 line, so we've got a triangle that comes off below the 145, and then just bring the box down to 225. And at the bottom down here we've got a triangle. We can see we've got the triangle of shade as her arm goes underneath. Here, coming across the 225 horizontal and the 65, you've got a C, just a letter C shape. Then we can bring the line up, and that's the fold in the shirt. You can bring that line up, and then we've got a nice V shape that comes up to the 125, and then we can just carry on that line going up to the top. Now again, coming off the back on the 145 here, we've got a C for that curl, another C going up, C going through the 125, and then we can just push the diagonal up to the 65 line, and that goes up right to the top of her head. Now back down to the 245 line on the 45, we have another little triangle that we build up on the side, but that's got a C at the bottom, as you can see where it curves. Then we've got a rectangle coming, little long thin rectangle, that's the hair coming down the bottom. We have a little rectangle that crosses the 65 line, just with a point at the end. Again, just part of a shirt, a blouse. Now we have, that comes around past the 125, we've got the curve of the bottom of a jumper. That goes right the way across. And then inside we've got the skirt, we've got the pleats and the pleat lines. That one's just to the right of the centre line. And then the pleat in the skirt, we've got a slightly diagonal line. Pleat at the top, just causing a bit of shadow as it goes off. But then we've got, again, following the same line as the bottom of the jumper, we've got these two little stripes. So this curves around, and then that goes up, and we can just follow slightly larger above, comes across the centre line, above the centre line, and then that goes right out to the 245 line. Now there is just using some simple shapes and using the grid lines, us actually getting a nice shape and outline down of Luna Lovegood, and then we can actually start putting the detail on and building up the detailed outline, and then we can start shading it in. Just sharpen the pencil. Now I'm going to use this little bit of paper, just a thin piece of just paper to rest my hand on while we detail up Luna Lovegood, played by Evanna Lynch. So we're coming in, and I'm still using the 2B pencil, but we're going to start with her, this area here around the eye and a nose. So we can see here where we put the lines, we've got the edge of a nose, the construction lines, we've got the edge of a nose that is right on the 125 line. Now all of these grid lines and construction lines I put on quite dark so that you can see them. You don't have to put them on as dark as I do. And you can see here we've got the shape of a nose that comes round right on the 125 line. It comes down to the edge of her left nostril. Now just to the centre, past the centre, we've got the right nostril, edge of the, not nostril, the edge of a nose that curves around, that's like a C shape. And then we've got the right nostril just underneath, and it's just to the right of the centre line. And you've got this little V, which is the centre part of a nose. And then you've got the curve of a left nostril. And that curves right around. We're just going to get the outline down. Like I say, we've got this shape. Now we've got that shade that's going to be in that corner. It's going to be lightened up a little bit, but now we need this eyebrow, and you can see how the eyebrow is kind of just above the center part between the 45 and 65 line, and it pretty much is horizontal, and it comes across and then curves down pretty much on the 3/4 line, and that's where that curves down. Now her left eye comes to the kind of halfway point where we've got this little rectangle that we put in, and so we've got the curve of the bottom of the eye, lower eyelid, that comes up right into where the tear duct is, and then you've got a little crease line that comes underneath, right underneath. Then from the edge we've got the upper eyelid with the eyelashes on. So again, you can see it's kind of horizontal, how it comes across and then curves down. And then we've got tear duct in the corner, and we've got Luna's eyeball inside with the iris and the pupil. So we can just put that curve in, and we need to leave a good amount of white. Then we've got the pupil right in the centre. It's kind of underneath the upper part of her eyelid where her eyelashes are, and then you've got the iris. Now we need to leave this square at the top for the highlight, and then we can put the dark part of the iris, and you can just lightly fill that in. Now again, we've just got this curve over the top, which is the upper eyelid going into the eye socket. And then I'm just indicating a few eyelashes, and there straight away you've got Luna's left eye staring out at you. So now on this side where we've got the line for the top of her right eyebrow, you can see how that just curves slightly as it comes above the 45 line going towards the 105. So we just put a slight little curve on, and then it comes down to just inside the 125. Now again, I'm just indicating some light lines, but drawing them in the direction of her eyebrow, and that's what will make it work. Because if you just fill in, draw in the direction, if you just fill in any way, if you draw in hairs, it helps if you draw them in the right direction, and it makes them look more natural. Now again, same here, we've got the rectangle that we put in. We need to come down and inside to the right of the centre line, the 105, but below the 45 line. And we've got the curve of the upper eyelid into the eye socket like on this side. And that comes down, and it's just to the right of the centre line. We've got that nice curve as it comes over, curves across, and then kind of comes down pretty much vertically. Again, we've got this diagonal line from her left eye to her right eye. So we can put in where the tear duct is. Here we've got this little V right in the corner, and then we want the curve to come over to the top, and it just kind of flattens out. And then you can see the curve underneath comes down and comes up. It curves up to touch where her tear duct is. Now we finish the curve off up, and that's the tear duct in the corner, and then we do the same how she's looking out. Like I say, we just need to curve that a little bit more. And we do the curve of her iris, and that's just above. Like this one here, you can see the lower eyelid crosses the bottom of the iris, whereas on a right eye it isn't, it's just curved all the way down. Then we want the big pupil, and we want to leave again the highlight, but I haven't drawn the line right up to the eyelid, so I'm darkening the pupil down and then just fill in that little bit lightly of the iris. And so again, just indicate a few eyelashes, and there we've got Luna's eyes starting to look out at us. Now again, these half body ones are, the faces are much smaller rather than just doing a full portrait of Luna's face. I could have done that, but it's just nice doing the full body because you've got more to work with. So now we come down to the mouth. We've got the little shape underneath the nose, and then we've got the top lip. So as you see from the nostril, you come down, we've got the edge of the mouth. And that comes up to that shape at the top, and then you curve over, and just to the right of the centre line, again in line with the edge of her eye, we've got the curve from a top lip right into the corner. Now the same, we follow the line underneath for the middle part of the, where the lips join, of the top lip to a lower lip, comes up, and then you just want a little curve in the centre, and then it goes down, curves to the edge where the corner of her mouth is, and then we put the shape of the bottom lip right in there. Now her jaw, bottom of her chin and her jaw coming up on the right, just curve it down. See how it just curves slightly, and it's a highlighted line. We've got this shadow, but we've got this kind of reflected highlight off the collar. But I'm just going to indicate where the edge of her chin is, and that just slightly curves up to go up to where her ear is. And then the shape of her ear just comes underneath her hair and just goes past the 85 line. And then we've got this little triangle shape just inside the box, which is the entrance to her inner ear on her earlobe. And that's kind of shadowed. And then above we've got this V in her hair. We've got the edge of the hair coming down there, and then this curves up. And we can see the curve of her hair now comes up over the 25 line. That curves over to the 125. Then we've got the parting that we've got in here. That comes up over, and we can put the real top in where it peaks. It curves up, peaks just to the right of the centre line, and then comes back over. And then the hair comes down through the 25 line, makes a kind of triangle with the 85, curves off to the halfway point, and then you can just follow it down. It comes down, and then you've got these waves. You've got a little C there, another C, slight curve, and it comes out, comes down and curves just to the right of the 45 line below the 105. And this is where we've then got these nice C shapes. Now we come back up to the chin, underneath the chin, and we've got the collar. So I'm going to put this top of the collar in. This comes up, goes through the 85 line, just to the right of the 85 vertical. Little point, and then that comes off, goes to about the third line, comes down, then you've got the edge of a jumper, curves down past the 85 vertical, and then we've got the string that goes to a cork pendant, and that comes through, comes down to this little V that we put in right at the bottom. Now we can bring this up to the tie. You've got a little vertical up to there, and then it kinks over, goes up to where the knot is. If we then pull that diagonal up, you can see how it touches the centre line. Then we've got the edge of the collar, the knot at the top, comes down, comes through and joins. Then we've got the bottom part of the tie that comes down out from underneath the knot, and then we've got the stripes, and the stripe comes through the 105 line and goes right to the edge. So we can just bring that one up, then the second line, and then the top of the second line goes right up. So again, bring the stripe down, and then we've got the thin stripe right at the bottom, and then there's a couple left to indicate there. And we've got the edge of the left side of a collar, and we can see how that curves around to join the neck underneath. So here we have the neck that comes off and up, just curves slightly, and we want the side of a cheek that goes through the 125 vertical and the 85. We just want to bring that curve slightly round, and then you've got the shadow of the jaw, bottom of a chin, sorry, the edge of a jawline to a chin, and you've got this C shape here that comes underneath the lips, and that shape that comes down. And again, we've got this shape here for the shadow on the side of a nose, and then that we've got a little rectangle that goes up and curves, follows the flow of the side of a nose up into the eye socket. Then we've got the little shadow and a little line coming off underneath her eye. Again, the same on this side. Now we follow a cheek up. You can see how this comes to underneath the kind of halfway line. We've got the hair that comes down, so you bring the cheek down that little bit. Now we've finished the hair off on the top. From the parting, we can bring this little curve round, to inside the 145 line, and then we've got this curve that goes up and over, and then the shape of a hair is inside the 25 145 here. You can see how it crosses through. So we've got the shape of a hair coming out, kind of horizontal, and then just curves around, comes down, and comes all the way down and curves to the point where it touches on the 65 by her eye. Now you can do the background completely black if you want. We'll see how we go with that a little bit later. But I'm just concentrating on the body. So here we've got the shape coming off her ear. That curves up, just a nice triangle shape. And then the same for that line underneath. Now here I'm just indicating where the shadow is. We've got this highlight from this side on a cheek. Then we've got a kind of dice earrings with all the dots on. So little rectangle face, one at the bottom, square face even. The same for the red one behind. And then we've got this curl of hair, we've got this nice curve that comes down. Now, from the top, again we've got another curve that comes down. And here we've got a curve that comes down through the 85 line. And we put a lot of these construction lines in. Then we've got another curve, and this is helping us to put the outline in for a hair now coming all the way down. So now we've got this C shape that then becomes a D as that curves over, and then we've got another curve that comes down through the 165 line. Then we've got these two little D's there. Again, we can now go back up and just follow some of the curls. There you've got like an hourglass shape. As that comes down, and then again you've got this kind of nice curved, imagine like a diamond there, but you've got curved edges. And this is how you draw the shape of the hair. Just follow the flow of the hair as it comes down. Again, she's got such an amazing amount of blonde hair. And then we've got this kind of B one down here. And this D shape for the hair. You've got that C that goes up and you follow those curls. Put the hole inside that D shape, and again underneath we've got this fantastic curl that comes down and curves around, then right to the bottom. Now we come back up and do the cord. Well, we'll start with the cork on the 185. So a cork pendant in between the 125 and 45 verticals. You see that's below the heart, so that's like kind of halfway. So we need that cork to be about there. And you've got the two little link chains that connect it to the string. Then we can follow the construction lines up. And I'm twisting the pencil just to keep the point sharp. Anyway, that curves up, comes up, goes through the centre line there, goes up right to the point at the top. Just getting a nice sharp point on my pencil. Now follow this line down, and really this one comes around the top and then curves outside, because we've got two strings, and then you've got this curve that comes up inside. So we follow that curve around, and then we can do a kind of double, so it's a bit thicker as that comes down, but then it curves, put this line in between and comes under. Now we then have that cord going underneath, and that's how it doubles up. So we can now bring the line down thicker from the top, and just very carefully put the line in between the two all the way down. Now the edge of a collar, that goes up and then it curves over to a shoulder. Then we want the top of a jumper as it comes out over a right shoulder, curves just slightly down through the centre line, and it comes to a point just to the right. This is where we then get the sleeve sticking out. But we bring the curve up, and it kind of just goes across the 105, curves across and goes right to the corner point of the 125/85. And then we've got the kind of hem braiding part, that knitted stretchy bit that comes over the top, comes down. Again, just follow the direction. You can put the little lines that come to the edge, indicate those like we did here. Again, we've got the dark that comes right the way up. Then we've got this little triangle of dark that's going to come down on the side. Now a sleeve comes out, comes down through the 145, kind of just kinks just before the kind of halfway point as it comes out, and then as it comes back towards the 45 line, we've just got nice little curves coming down. Again, you just get a little bit of a wave there. Here we've got this highlighted part that comes out, waves down. Then we've got this little diagonal divergence at the bottom, and there's a little triangle of shade there right at the bottom. And we can indicate the shadow line that comes up and follows. That goes up. Then we've got that line that goes right the way up to the shoulder. Those creases that come out, and just think of a V shape. Again, here next to the 65 line, we've got a diamond shape. But as we come down and follow the arm on this side, the shirt comes down, curves across between the 145 and 165, goes through the centre, below the line a little bit, and then you can see we've got this fantastic line that comes down from this crease at the top. And then that curves and goes below the 185 line. And then we've got this, again, lovely curve and shape that comes up, goes through the centre line, comes down to where we've got this C shape here. Then you've got the shadow, and you've got the curve of the crease of the shirt underneath. And then from the 225 line, you've got that shape there, little pointed shape, and then we come down right the way to the bottom, and you can see where the bottom of a cardigan is, a jumper, and then you've got that little edge bit of the cuff, and then the blouse cuff line comes up. There you've got that V that goes across, you've got the edge of the elbow. Here we can again just indicate the shape of that shadow that's going to go up. And then here we've got this final shape, so you've got a C that curves around, and then you want the edge of the blouse going up. So now we're going to detail the stripes at the bottom of a Ravenclaw house jumper, who she got sorted into. We can see we need to bring this down. We've gone too high on that construction line, so I'm bringing the line down lower. Now here you can see where it crosses over the 125 line. That's where we bring it down, and it curves across, comes round into this shadow. Now we've done the two outer lines, and it's just basically you fill the inner bits in a little bit. Then we can come down and do the edge of the top as it comes down. So we come from here, you can see right on the 125 125 line where a jumper comes out and across, then curves down, curve right next to the 145 line, just comes back in a little bit, then crosses over, comes below the 185 line, just to the right of the 145 vertical, and then you've got this little diagonal point there. You can see there it curves, and then it curves out, comes around, and then curves out again, comes right down to the bottom. And then we get the bottom part of a jumper that comes round. This curves right underneath and joins underneath. Again, we can just indicate the direction of the kind of knitting pattern of the stretchy bit at the bottom. You can see we've got vertical lines, but here between 125 and 145 they are vertical, but here they're not, they're just slightly diagonal. But I'm just doing that so as we don't lose, and again they're more diagonal as it comes around into the shadow area around here. But then we've got the pleats, so where the fabric is joined together, here we've got this V for that pleat that comes down. Again, the top we've got a V that creates that pleat for us, and then the same there. Now here we've got the creases as it comes round, we've got the shadow, so you've got coming across the 205 horizontal and 85 vertical. You can see that's where that little V comes out, got a little triangle there, and then the shape, the shadow again comes down. Can indicate the highlight. Here we've got another shape as it underneath between her arm and the upper part of her chest. Again, that goes up right to the top. Again, we've got now another line slightly darker that comes down and around. Now we want this hair right at the bottom. As that comes off and comes down. Now we've got this final bit of the hair on the back, So we've got that C shape that comes down, little curl there. And on the 145 we've got another capital C shape, and then right out to the 25 line we've got this lovely curl that comes right round and rejoins, and then underneath it there's just that nice simple couple of C shapes. You see how that curves round and then comes out underneath, and you get this nice big C shape here. And all you're doing is using nice simple shapes, but using the grid lines as a guide to help you actually place them. Again, simple curls that come down. There's a C just going across there, and then you've got this final one that comes down. So there we have Luna Lovegood, an outline completely down. Now I'm going to take my Mars plastic eraser and we're going to rub out all of the grid lines as best we can. Now I use this for the large areas, and remember, you don't have to draw the grid lines as dark as I do. I only put them on as dark as I do so that you can see them, and that way you can rub them out easier without having to see the lines as much. Now, one of the interesting things about the grids, and I've had some comments, but again, as I mentioned at the very beginning in the introduction part, I use the grids to make it simple. It's just an art technique. You're in the company of old masters who use techniques to create phenomenal works of art. It's not cheating. You're just using a technique. Now, the portrait painters who do live sittings and do everything from life, absolutely wonderful. Now here, this is too big really. I mean, I can get in there. Otherwise I'm going to, imagine I try and do around Luna's face with this. It's too big. I'm just going to rub it out. Now you can get smaller erasers. So here I've got, it's still a Mars plastic, but it's in a pen. And I did see someone the other day who's got a really fine one in a pen, and it's like, oh, I'm going to have to try and get my hands on one of those, because that would be even better. But I've got this one, which is an electric eraser, and we shall use that in a moment. Right, I'm just going to, so I don't smudge everything. So I'm coming in with this, and because it's smaller, it allows me to get rid of a lot of the construction lines and the grid lines that are inside all of the drawing that we've done without losing the drawing. So they're inside her nose, round her eye. But I had a comment not long ago where someone was like, oh, I don't like grids, grids are terrible. And it's like, well, that's fine, but I'm helping people to learn how to draw. It's just a technique. And you just erase them out afterwards. And I've probably mentioned before in some other videos, one of our favourite museums is the Victorian Albert. The royal we, that's me and the wife, Sharon Bill. She does a music tuition YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/Sharon Bill and you'll find over 800 music theory videos, all in 4K. And it's amazing. She's done all of ABRSM grades 1 to 5 and past papers. And I'm just rubbing these out. And she's now just started doing Trinity College London, their music theory. Again, grades 1 to 5. She loves helping beginners. She's currently getting a load of people, A-level students, through their grade 8s. That's been rather interesting. In this time, because the exams were cancelled and then they're back on, it's like, oh, we've got to work. So she's been marking multiple papers every week, but that's by the by. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the V&A, the Victorian Albert Museum in London, is one of our favourite places, and it's a joy to go. And there are massive pictures in there, huge. We're talking like 2 stories of a building, 1.5 to 2 stories of a building, 15 feet. You know, you're talking 4 meters, 5 meters maybe. And I can remember going in there and seeing some of these massive canvases, and one of them's semicircle. This is the one that I'm remembering. And I can remember when I first saw it, and I saw a grid like this. This was a high-end artist in the Victorian period. I will try and find his name. It was a Sir something, definitely. But he used grids to get his work up on his canvas, and you could see them. They'd actually got the preparatory one that he'd done, and the grid was more easily seen. And then obviously when they do the full-size one, he will, once they've worked it out using the grids on the actual size canvas, they then, shock horror, trace it down. And even Michelangelo used what's called a cartoon, and they are in the Victorian Albert Museum. Massive cartoons of Michelangelo. These are huge paintings on the size of a wall on paper, oil on paper. And there's little holes, so all around the edge of an arm or whatever on the person, there's little holes. And what they would do is put that onto the wall or the canvas that they were going to paint, and then they would blow soot through them, and it would become a giant dot to dot. Shock horror! Artists use techniques. So that's why I love helping you all with your skills by teaching you these techniques. So anyway, enough of me wittering about the Victorian and Albert Museum. It is absolutely wonderful. Check it out online, and if you're ever in London, go and have a look. It's truly wonderful. They have so many amazing artifacts from around the world. It is truly outstanding. But they cover everything. It isn't just art, it's art and design. So they have fabrics, clothing, sculpture, right the way through to industrial design and theatre design. It's truly an amazing museum. And they even have things, modern things as well. They keep abreast of new modern changes in design. So that's now very messy. And I'm now brushing off all of those bits of spent eraser, so I can see then if I've got anything else. And I'm just brushing these onto a piece of card or a piece of paper rather than brushing them straight on the floor. And then, shock horror, I can put it in the bin. I didn't used to do this. I just used to brush it on the floor, and then you'd have to like hoover it up loads. But I use the brush because it means it doesn't smudge the drawing. And you can just dust that off. And then you can come in very carefully. Now I'm going to use this because it's my finer one. And you can pull out any of the little lines that you need. Like I say, in the hair. Just on a face, on a nose. And somebody I saw on, they tagged me on Instagram, and they actually got bits of rubber and just chopped them into tiny little bits so they could do the highlight, because they hadn't got a putty rubber or a very fine one, so they just chopped it into little bits and pieces so that it got a sharp edge, and that's how they put the highlights in. That's very creative. I was very impressed with that. Again, you figure out things that you need to do to be creative. So again, inside the hair now, where the highlights are down here, you can see I'm just pulling off a little bit more because that's where the bright blonde highlights actually are. Again, there's a cross there, I can get rid of that one. Horizontal lines here and vertical lines. Again, just brush that off. And I've seen already, so now I'm going to be very, very careful. I'm not going to use that electric eraser, I'm going to use my putty rubber. And I'm just going to rub out around by Luna's nose, the edge of her nose. Because we've got a bright highlight all the way down that side by her eye. But even though I've just pulled that off, I can see the tiny little construction line that we put in. And there we pretty much have the outline of Luna down. So anyway, we can now start shading her in. Oh, he says, yeah, you can see there, because I've rubbed out so much, I was like thinking, oh, I've missed a bit, but I hadn't, it was already there. But that's the problem when you go in with a rubber. You can literally obliterate. There's none here, so I'm just putting in just some light curls. But it was here on the bottom of her earring, her dice earrings on this side. I just completely rubbed those out. But that is our drawing of Luna so far. Just sharpening the pencil again. We're in with the 2B pencil, so I'm going to use the piece of paper so I don't smudge. But now we're going to gently, now again, this, the way she's lit, so she's lit from this side and this side, Luna is. And it's very, very light and soft because she is this light and airy kind of person, which is great. Such a fantastic character. But what I'm going to do is we're just looking to fill in shapes. So I'm using the 2B pencil very gently. I'm starting with the top of her head. That's where it's kind of darkest. This shadow here. So you've got this highlight causing the shadow down her cheek and the jaw here. And we've got these darker shapes. But you're going to use tone within the shapes to then create all of the detail that you need for Luna. So we've got the shadow there in between the nose. This curve coming up underneath her eye. Down the side of her eye. Now again here we've got, it comes down the top of her cheek, the hairline to the cheek, and then it comes down vertically and then curves around. Now here, because you can still see lightly where your construction lines are, or where, you can see where it curves slightly and follow the shape and form. Now I'm not twisting the pencil so that I get this nice soft tone. Underneath the lips. And then you've got the C shape of this shadow that curves around. Then you come up to the cheek. Coming across the cheek. And then you've got the shadow coming down from the side of her nose, past the edge of her mouth. And it gets darker down by the bottom part of her chin, but you've got this reflected highlight in as well. So we're just going to add the tone very gently. Again, underneath her eye. Here, right in the corner, you can see you've got a bit of shadow coming out and across. And the top of her eyelid. Underneath the eyebrow. And it's just lighter right underneath that top part. And then, again, just bringing that tone. Inside the left eye socket. Just bringing a little bit of tone down. And we take that right to the edge. So you've got that eyelash that comes out. And you've got the curve of her upper eyelid that curves up and over. And then we want that shadow underneath the hair that comes down there, right on the edge. And you can see there, we've got the shadow caused by this fantastic cascading part of her hair on the front. And then a little gentle shadow up to the hairline. And then on her forehead, just lightly, I'm just letting the weight of the pencil do the work for me, going right the way up to her parting. Again, a little shadow line going up over the top. Again, we can just darken that down that little bit. And the shape of her eyebrow. And then you've got the crease between her upper eyelid and her eye socket. And the dark of that eye. So we bring that over and then the line comes down. Then that goes right to the edge. Again, the same with the right eye and the right eye brow as well. Then we want this little diagonal coming down from the nose. Building the shadow up again. I'm just adding little cross-hatching layers. Here we've got the shadow caused by the nose itself. Coming down to the right lip, we've got that triangle on the side. And coming down to the top lip itself. Put the shape in on the top. Then we can fill the shadow in on the top lip. Then we've got that fantastic highlight from on the left hand side of a lip that comes round into the dark. Put the darken in between the upper and lower lip. Going to the corner. And then the shadow underneath the lower left eyelid, curving round. And then right down the cheek, off by the left nostril. It's very light, so just indicating that left nostril a little bit more. The shadow on the top. You've got the curve and shape of the nose, how it goes round and up to the upper eyebrow. And we just lightly draw in that shade. And there you can already see Luna just starting to look out at us. Now again, coming off, I've got some construction lines underneath the nose. I'm just going to remove those carefully. There's a little bit of highlight on that side. Again, the lips. Just pulling that out a little bit. Now from the edge of her mouth we've got a shadow that comes down vertically, so you can see, and that comes down to the edge. So go up inside the cheek line and there is a highlight, and I'm just very carefully putting some shade to the edge of a cheek, and the same coming off from the side underneath the left eye, coming down from the side of a nose, just lightly. Then we can darken that bit coming underneath the nose again, then underneath the lower lip on the left hand side. Then we can darken that bit right underneath. There's the edge of a nose, of a right nostril where it joins the cheek. That little kind of quirky smile where the corners of her mouth just kind of go up a little bit. Again, just bringing some more shade down. Corner of her eye. And in this corner of the socket, I'm just using cross hatching, just building up the lines little by little, and we can smudge it later if we want to or need to. Again, just a little bit of shadow on that corner of her eye coming out. Into the eye socket again. This is the thing, you're just building up very slowly, gently, with adding a little bit more tone at a time. And that's what, when we get the rest of the hair and the tone in the hair and the jumper, it will really help to pull things all together. Again, in the corner of a tear duct, that then goes up, and there'll be a highlight pulled in here using the putty rubber. And we just need to carefully build everything up. Now bear in mind, I'm just using a 2B pencil, not used anything else yet. So again, now we've got the shape. We just want a little curve coming down by her left eye. Now we've got that curve going up over, and it needs to come down. The bottom part of her eyelash is really low. And then we can indicate just some longer eyelashes. Be careful not to obliterate the highlight. And then we've got that dark shadow right in the corner of a tear duct. And then that crease. And that's Luna, like I say, just starting to look out at us. Curve coming up and over. Again, that's gone really dark. Inside that eye. So I'm using my putty rubber, just pulling it together. Putting the highlight in on the top, just rubbing that bit out. And then I can bring that curve right over. To where it goes down into the tear duct. And just dabbing gently. Just to pull some of those highlights up a little bit. And then darkening the edge of the iris down. Just put a little bit too much dark above. Oh, just obliterating my highlight. There we go. Right. So now if I put the pupil back in and carefully curve that over. Then come down and darken the iris underneath slightly. She has got very light blue eyes, so you don't want to obliterate all of, just go too dark on the iris. It's not. It needs to be slightly lighter. That's better. Then a little bit of tone on the actual eyeball, because it's just slightly in shadow. And again, from this corner, we can really bring the curve up, but gently, of the shadow where the upper eyelid and the socket come together. So now, got the shadow underneath the bottom part of the nose, where that curves around the side of a nostril, and then again just a little darker bit up the side of the nose. And then we've got a shadow coming out underneath, say, her eye, coming over the top. Again, that just lighten that bit, that little bit. Then we can just bring that shadow down the side of her cheek. You can see here how it's a little bit darker, but it's in line with her lips. And then it gets darker as it comes down to this front part of her chin. So I'm using the flat side again, just to gently fill it all in. Again, underneath the chin now, we've got the shadow that comes under, kind of darker in the middle. Where that goes off to the back of her neck. Up behind the ear. And we've got the shadow tone down by the edge of the ear going up into the hair. And then that darker patch, which is the entrance to the ear canal. Bottom of the ear. Again, I'm now just going to use the side of the pencil to fill in a lot of tone. You've got that nice shape there, it's like an S. Big filled in at the bottom, little triangle of shape there. Tone going into the hair. So now we're going to follow the shape of the hair down. I'm just filling in these shapes, but it's obviously getting lighter. So you can see here we've got the wavy curls. And you've got that dark shape showing through. Nice and light going up to the top. Parting at the top. Again, I'm going in the direction of the hair. It's what you always have to do. And that's what makes it look more natural. So now we're coming down the back of the hair. We've got these curls coming out. I'm just indicating the direction of where the curls will be, but using the side of the pencil. And then it's much darker underneath the chin. I'm being very careful. Not to obliterate the bottom part of her chin. Going up the cheek. Right next to the hairline. Next to a dice earrings. Now I can use the point of the pencil just to indicate some of the direction of the hair as it comes down, and then when we come back in with the putty rub it'll help us with the highlights. Little bit of shadow inside the collar, right on the edge of the collar here. And we've got shadow underneath that tie. And we can just fill some of the tone in on the tie as well. Again, this is all still with the 2B pencil. So I'm just kind of putting that in as a mid-tone and indicating the dark a little bit more there. And this will just help us a bit lighter on the front. So again, now we've got these fantastic curls that come down. You can see by the cork we've got some darker swirls in the hair. And that comes all the way down with the highlights. Now, just filling in some of the tone in the hair as it comes down on this side, and then we've got the highlights, the very strong bright highlights. A little bit of tone on that collar, more there. So now at the hair at the back, we can just fill in some tone again underneath, just using the flat of the pencil, being careful. And you can do just wispy lines like you can see there, and it just adds and helps. So again, now I'm starting at the bottom on the shirt where it's darkest. Now I'm resting my hand, pivoting from my shoulder on top of my right hand, and it just means I can pivot my hand quickly backwards and forwards just using the soft of the pencil. Again, I'm putting this shadow in rather quickly. We've got this V up at the top on the top of his shirt. Then we've got this triangle, that curve of that fold here at the top. Just gently now filling in that tone coming down. That C shape. And there we've got a really nice amount of tone coming together on the shirt, and we've just got to fill the rest in. So now we've got a little bit of more shade on the chin. And coming up onto a forehead. Now, again, I'm still just using the 2B pencil. So we're going to fill in now her tank top very quickly and very carefully, because we don't want to obliterate the lines of the necklace string for her cork. So again, I've just put in a bit of a mid-tone. Now there, that's not good. That was a bit of some kind of bit of rubber, and as I went over with the pencil, it just kind of smudged it into the paper. So anyway, I'm now just going to put in a mid-tone all over her jumper, again using the flat of the pencil, kind of light to mid-tone, being careful around the necklace and the cork. Again, I'm just filling in the shape, and I'm just pivoting. I'm off the paper, I'm just pivoting backwards and forwards, and I can feel it more from my shoulder because I'm not resting my hand on and just trying to do it from my wrist. And that's how you can fill larger areas in very quickly. So that's the jumper. I'm now going in the same direction as the ribbing and the weave of the jumper at the bottom. And the same now right at the bottom on Luna's skirt. So now I'm going to come in with a 4B pencil, and this will allow me to put in the darker areas a little bit easier. Now I could just use the 2B all the way, but 4B and 8B is obviously softer. B is for black, but it's softer and it means you can get darker. You can see here we've got the shadow coming off the cork and the strings underneath. But the higher number B, the easier it is. You can see there I've been going over the string. It's the easier it is to put darker tones down. So there we've got a darker patch that comes down, and then that comes around and down onto the skirt. We've got darker tones. Much darker in that pleat. Again, I'm just using the flat side of the pencil, and you're being quite impressionistic. If you want to be very literal and more accurate, you've got to spend hours and days and days. I say I just like, you see it lightens up here, I just like showing you the basic techniques, and if you want to spend longer on it, that's fantastic. So now we've got this much darker tone right next to this sleeve. Got this triangle right down into the corner. We just need to keep this tone building up. We bring the dark up the sleeve. And if you squint, you can kind of see the shapes of the dark that you need to put in. So again, this comes down right past the cork, down over a tummy. We can just fill all of that tone in quickly. And this comes up, fill in that dark. And then across the front of the jumper. And then you've got the dark under the collar. Right at the top, and then you've got darker tone that comes over, and then the ribbing at the bottom. So you can see I've just quickly filled that in, and it just looks a little bit rough at the moment. Now you can carry on just using the pencil, but I'm now going to come in and I'm going to use this kitchen roll, and first I'm gently just going to push some of the tone around Luna's face. Again, I'm just looking carefully. But just pushing the tone where it needs to go. Again, down her neck. And it just softens everything off. And you can see there straight away, it gives you more of a softer effect. And I just like that. It's just personal preference. So again, I've pushed that pencil now up her cheek. And you've got that highlight from the side coming in and the light on this side. And it just makes it really nice. Now again, same on the hair. I'm just now pushing that down, and it just softens out some of the tone. Same on the shirt. You can just push it around. And this is the thing, the same on the skirt and the jumper. This is just something that I actually like doing. So even the cork, we can just go over the cork and then come up the jumper. And there now you can see we've just completely softened off the entire drawing, but it just looks really lovely. And that's really quickly just using a bit of kitchen roll. Now we've obviously pulled all the tone down across her hair here. We've been careful up on this part. We need to pull the tone down on a jumper a little bit more. You can see we've still got the detail in the eyes that actually draw us in, but we can literally just, I mean, I've just smudged that quickly with what's on the, and you can see it's just given us a better shadow on the top of Luna's forehead. Just a smudge around the nose. I mean, just that kind of looks, you know, Harry Potter, magical. It just looks lovely, and that's what I love about drawing. Now I'm going to come in with my old dirty putty rubber, because it'll allow us to pull off. And I'm just pinching it together. Now I'm coming into the hair. Got little highlights in the centre. But again, I'm drawing with the putty rubber. You've got the highlight and the parting at the top. Just pinching it. And it allows us to get those fine lines and the highlights right in the centre of the parting. Now we've got this fantastic highlight on the side of her head and her hair, right at the top. And then down by her ear, and then a cheek. Now I'm just dabbing gently, and it just pulls off a little bit at a time that you need. Again, underneath the eye, underneath the eyebrow, just up over the top a little bit. the right hand side of her face, her nose, top of her nose, on her left nostril, then going up the side of her into her actual left nostril. You've got that strong highlight, and then in the centre part of her top lip, then going back up into her nose, reflected highlight underneath the nostril, her right nostril. Just dab that carefully. Again, same underneath the left nostril. That highlight by the edge of her cheek. Top of her cheek going down to her nose. And there already it just looks much more soft and lifelike. Top of her chin, again, lower lip, and then down by the shadow off the corner of her mouth. Coming down to her chin. Then you got the highlight on the front of her neck caused by that collar. Same on that collar. Got the strong highlight going up. Then just a triangle of light on the front. And the same at the back, just a little highlight. And already you can see it's just giving us that little bit more elevation. Yeah, I'm just being careful and just picking up little bits and pieces. We are going to add some more shadows. Again, in the ear. Then these highlights coming down on the back. Just pinch the rubber and follow the flow of her hair. And just put the highlighted curls in. That's looking rather nice. Now again, the same thing with this sleeve now. We've got these brilliant highlights that just need really pulling out. Now I'm doing these really quickly. Here we've got this curve one that comes down around right the way down to the bottom. Then you've got this C highlight at the bottom, and then you can just really push with the rubber. Yeah, there's even a couple of creases up the back edge. Now reflected highlight in there. Again, the same. You just have to keep pushing the rubber around. But you can see already how that sleeve is just starting to look more three-dimensional. Again, you just need the just putting some tone in on that shirt there that I'd missed. And then you've got reflected highlights underneath the kind of elbow part. And then we just come over and you've got the hair on this side. Lots of lovely highlights. So again, I'm just following the flow of the hair and the curls, and you just give the impression of the curls that you need. Highlight on the front of the cork, the metal parts, and then carefully the strings, just pulling the pencil off the string that is Luna's necklace. That's looking rather lovely. So now I'm going to come back in quickly with, after sharpening it, the 2B pencil, because I just want to give some definition again now to some of the bits. And we're starting with the necklace. And we just curve that up. A bit of tone where it joins the hair. But now we've got, like I say, we've got these earrings. So I'm just doing cross-hatching lines to indicate the kind of little dots. Bit darker underneath, and then we can come back in with a putty rubber and should just pull up some of those little highlights. Then again, we just got that shadow up the side of her head and her hair. Just being careful to not make it too dark. So here I'm coming in with the clean putty rubber because that'll allow me to pull off without smudging. That's a nice shape right next to a cheek. So back with the 2B. And then we've got these shadows that we can start to, we can just start to indicate more shape and tone. And because we smoothed underneath, the cross hatching that you put over the top, just the little amounts of tone, just being gentle, is going to build it up really, really nicely. And you can see already that nice dark tone appearing on a chin. Again, underneath, and we've got this reflected highlight that we need to consider. So we can put the dark line coming down from a cheek and a chin, and then underneath these earrings, you can just darken the shadow in the centre, going down to the collar. Now, on this side we've got this triangle of light, and then we've got the dice above, sorry. So So just putting a little kind of grid section on. Then you've got the kind of green dice above. It's just a case of indicating shapes. And then indicate the dark for the metal of the earring that goes through her ear. Then you've got that tone that comes down onto her hair. And just like we did here, just keep twisting the pencil. And you can use the sharp of the pencil to indicate some hairlines of a blonde hair in the shadows. So underneath here we've got a much darker patch at the back. And next to the earrings. So I'm going to use a longer, so I've got the kind of very tip, even though it's gone a bit flat, it means I can indicate some nicer shapes but using a softer tone. It just helps to indicate the hair. So again, this entrance into her ear canal, we want this shade coming down the side of her ear, then much darker where it enters. Then you've got those hair lines just above going into that little V. Then you've got that highlighted part coming down, and then we've got curve of a hair coming to the parting at the top, and a slightly darker line that comes down next to that highlight. You can see that's coming down right next to her face, and that just gives us a bit more three-dimensionality. Now again, you've got this lovely dark shadow in the hair above, but where we come next to the edge, we can just use the point and indicate some lines like we've done here and here. And then you've got this darker triangle that comes right the way up as well from above her ear. So that curves up. I'm now going to just bring the piece of paper in so that I don't smudge too much. And just nice and light at the back, indicating that hair. Now again, right on the top, we're just indicating some lines for her hair. Now right in the parting, we can go that little bit darker. And then this darker patch again at the top, going down the left hand side of her hair. And then the same at the front. So I'm just indicating, just twisting the pencil so keeping a sharper point. And then we've got the dark underneath. Some little reflected highlights. Where that just comes down and off. So here we've got the highlight at the back, just coming down, and we get that tone just darkening. You can see now that Luna's head is looking much more together and complete. Now, her eyebrow, we get that shape. So you've got that little rectangle there, and you get another rectangle line coming over, and then that final little one just pings down. Just thin that underneath a little bit. And the same on this side. Now, the curve of her eyelid into the eye socket. And then dark into the corner. And that's looking okay so far. Right, I've just sharpened my 4B pencil. And we're going to come in and we're going to detail up Luna's eyes properly. So we've got that curve that comes round, and the top of it eyelash comes down and then comes right out to that edge. Now I need to bring the edge of her iris around that a little bit more, and then a pupil is right up underneath. Just lighten the edge of her iris in that side. But the pupil goes right up underneath. And then we've got the shadow that comes over, and hopefully I can come in with the clean putty rub it, and I've just pulled that out a little bit, and then we can carefully fill in that big dark pupil. Just keep twisting the pen. This is a 4B, so it goes soft very quickly. We've got the edge leaving that highlight exposed. Just carefully bring that down, and then again just little highlight on the inside. Now right on at the top she's got a highlight on the lower eyelid. So I'm coming back in with the 2B pencil. Now we've got that highlight and indicating very carefully her eyelashes on a lower eyelid. That's quite nice. And then we've got the curve shadow coming off the left eyebrow. And then in the eye socket, again we've got this shadow caused by a hair, and then where that comes down. Now, the edge of a nose is just pretty vertical, and that comes down and curves under. And then we need that left nostril building up, and then again, this is still the 2B pencil, so it's not too dark. And then we've got the dark line at the top of the right nostril, and the curve underneath comes down and under. Then we need to just build up a little bit of tone on the front of that nose, and then right on the front of the bridge of the nose going up, leaving a little highlight right on the edge. And that goes right the way up to in between her eyebrows. And then next to the eyebrow, we've got a left eyebrow. We've got this shadow line that kind of goes up the centre of her forehead, up to where her parting is. Now, coming with the 4B pencil again, we've got a right eye, and that just curves up, goes past, and then we need a bit more white of her eye showing. We can curve that down. Bring the iris around and increase the size of her pupil. And again, that goes up underneath the upper eyelid. And then we've got these shadows right in the corner by the tear duct. And again, we've got this highlight, slight highlight on a lower eyelid. Going right into the corner where the tear duct is. And we've got the shadow actually in the tear duct. And then we want the curve. Again, I'm coming back in with the 2B pencil now. Coming underneath the iris. We've got this little bit of shadow that's coming off into this corner. And then above the eyebrow, we can darken that down into the corner. Now our actual iris, we just need to lighten them up a little bit. Now coming in with the 2B pencil, got the curve of a right nostril, how that curves around, and then we've got the shadow that comes off underneath, coming down to a top lip. We need to just build that shape up. Again, the side of a nostril. Build the dark up a little bit. And then up by the tear duct, we've got this crease line that just comes down and underneath. Again, using the side of the pencil now, just bringing that shadow down on a forehead, over the top of her eyebrow a little bit. Down the left hand side of her face. Centre of a forehead. This is where you just build up slowly by the side of a nose, on a left cheek. That shadow underneath left eye. Then coming off the side of a mouth. Now we can really pick up her lips. So we've got this kind of M shape in the centre of her mouth, which is much darker. That goes to the edge. And then the lip on the right hand side. Again, we can just darken that down, just keep twisting the pencil and you get the sharp point. And that allows you to get that much darker shadow, but it's only in a nice soft tone because you're using the pencil and allowing it to just smooth itself out. Again, the lip as that comes across. Then we've got the shadow coming down, the C coming down underneath the chin again. You just darken that little bit more. And that comes around the side of corner of her mouth. And then down the cheek, we can just darken that centre part, the edge of the cheek coming up over the corner, again underneath her eye. And there you've got those reflected highlights just looking really nice. Now I'm just adding some just little cross hatching, just to build up little bits of tone. And then when we come back in with a putty rubber, it'll give us much more definition. Now, the cheek going up. You just have to keep looking and just adding little bits of tone as you go. You can see we've got that nice darker tone just here, and then the same matching up on a head up at the top. And you just add and build as you need to. And you just keep looking around the drawing and decide, oh, it needs a little bit more here or a little bit more. And this is how you work around the drawing completely. And it's just the way I've developed my drawing, and it helps. And it's just practice. You just keep looking at your reference. Again, I'm just putting the shadow underneath those dice. Then it's darker underneath there. Right in that corner. And then the collar, you've got that darker shadow there. So I'm going to come in with the dirty putty rubber now. Right underneath the chin. We've got this fantastic highlight. And we just follow the curve and the line, and then you come back in with your 2B pencil and you can delineate, oops, more of the detail line, but you've got that fantastic reflected highlight now all the way across. Now we can just soften that to the edge. Now I want the 4B. Just coming in. The hair underneath that chin. Little bit of dark up in that corner. Now I'm going to come in with the clean putty rubber, just really pinch it to a point. and then right up the edge of a nose. We've got that highlight, and it comes up in between the two eyebrows, and I'm just dabbing on a forehead. And then the top of it, left eyebrow, going up into that corner. And then her eye, got that edge coming down by the side of her nose, again top of a lip. And the edge of a chin. And there you've got that really strong highlight now. Again, on the right hand side of her hair, we can pull out much stronger highlights. And again, the hair on the front. In the parting. Now I'm going to use the dirty putty rubber, just so as it doesn't pull off too much. We can just dab and put some of these reflected highlights in around her right eye. And down the top of her cheek. In fact, I'm going to have to use. This is the problem with the dirty putty rubber. You can pull some off, but sometimes not enough. And the edge of her nose. And that's, again, this is pulling off quite a bit, but try again. If we now come in with a blending stump, I can actually soften this around. Rather than using pencil. I'm using the blending stump as a drawing tool. Or you can use a cotton bud. Oh, that's nice. But this is giving me the soft gradation that I actually want. And I can just push some of the tone around, make it darker like here, as and where I need it. Again, even the ear, and just little bits in the hair I can just fill that in. And up the side of the nose to Luna's eye. The crease is coming over her cheek. Again, just coming over her forehead. Down the side of her cheek next to her nose. Underneath that eye, you can just push that around a little. Crease above that eye. The eyebrow, just darkening that in a little bit. Coming down underneath the ear. There, that's looking pretty good so far. Now we need to just build up the rest of the body and a jumper and a sleeve and then see where we go from there. So now we're in with a 4B pencil and we're going to be, in fact I'm going to, where's an 8B? Yeah, hey, we've got an 8B. Let's have a go with one of these. Oh, that's a bit better. If you've only got a 4B, you just need to press on a little bit harder. But we're going to be filling in the areas, all the dark, excuse me, crumb on the clacker. So we're going to be filling in the shadow and the top. Her Ravenclaw tank top jumper thing. And so we're following this shadow line all the way down. I'm using the soft side of the pencil. Soft side? The flat side of the pencil, because it's a very soft 8B pencil. And it just means we can fill in a larger area with this lovely 8B pencil. Darker, oh, there goes the end of the pencil, just snapped off. And that's the problem with an 8B pencil. Hang on. So, I want to sharpen that again. Now you get the length of that. And because I just, as I was pressing down, tilted it too far, it snapped half of the, there we go, another little bit goes away. And that's the problem with an 8B pencil. It's so soft, it can't take much stick. So we're coming down to the stripes right at the bottom. And then, and we're going to do this quick. I'm resting my hand on, left hand on top of my right hand. If you're right-handed, it will be your right hand on top of your left hand. And we are just filling in this large area. Oh, gosh, that was completely lost it. That really is the problem with a very, very soft pencil. And I'm trying to do this really quick because I don't want to take forever on these drawings. I'm here to teach you how to draw quickly. Well, I'm drawing quickly. You can take as long as you want, which is very good. But we just want to fill this in. Oh, this is just not good at all. Yeah, completely mashed this pencil, but still, that's the whole point. I'm going to try and be very careful with it. And that's another reason why I have used 4B pencils more than 8B pencils. I tend to only use these for certain things, but I was hoping that the softer nature of this pencil, we're now drawing the detail along, well, just a line along the top of the stripes on the Ravenclaw jumper. And I put my hand on there, I'm just going to end up getting that filthy. But this is the problem with a 4B pencil, an 8B pencil, is you can't do, you've got to be very careful. You can't just, like now, I can't really press on very hard because it will snap the pencil. You just got to be very, very careful. And again, that blodge there, which I will put into a stripe presently, is a bit of spent eraser. So, and it just picks up the graphite from your pencil and you just basically rub it in. So we now have this dark, I'm just going to be careful going all the way up the jumper to Luna's right shoulder. Should be Luna's left shoulder. All for alliteration. Anyway, so we are filling this tone in. We've got the shadow from the cork and the string. Again, this is, I'm going quite impressionistic to give you an impression of the jumper and the detail. That's better, but you can see it just fills in much easier. So now I'm being very careful to not tilt the pencil. To actually fill in the tone. Of this jumper quite quickly. And I'm going for a kind of darker tone, but not absolute black. And then we can really build in the dark shadows as we graduate the tone into the drawing. So here you can see we've got this diagonal shadow coming down with a lighter bit on the front. And then we've got this dark shadow right at the top. And then comes down on the collar, that V part onto the collar. Coming down on the front, we've got shadow coming down there. Then we've got a shadow line next to the string. And we've got that dark shadow right in that corner. But I'm just softening the edges off because that's how fabric responds. If it's a very sharp edge, it'll look hard and metallic. So now we can bring that tone up and over. The jumper going right the way up to the back. Then we've got this shape, and we've got this dark shadow underneath the jumper next to the sleeve. And again, I'm just softening the edge. So I'm creating the very dark edge. You can see already that we've now got a much more solid body on Luna. Again, just little details, and we can just do some cross hatching, fill in little bits of tone. Bring more of the darker tone down. The side of a jumper next to a hair. That darker shadow on that side right into the corner. And then we've got kind of dark shadow line right the way across the edge of the hem of the jumper, where it curves around and comes up. So here now we've got the darkest points on the jumper, right next to the arm. This is another reason why I wanted to use the 8B, because it's just so soft that you can fill in these darker tones much easier. And you can just graduate the tone out. So here right next to the sleeve, we've got to go right close to it. And we've got that crease going up over to the top of his shoulder. Again, soften the edge off. Then we've got all the ribbing, so I'm using like a flat part of the front of the pencil, and you can see how the ribbing comes around the top of his shoulder, and you just indicate and bring it all the way down, and then that crease. Then there's kind of a third from the top of the ribbon, you've got that shadow line that comes around. Shadow line going right up to the top. Again, the same, we've got that darker shadow right up to the collar. I'm just zigzagging backwards and forwards, just creating the effect of the ribbon on the collar. Now I'm just going to finish off all the way around the top of that corner. This is a bit lighter, and we can come into this with the putty rubber, and that'll bring out the highlights on the jumper for us. Again, we can bring out this triangle of dark and just use the edge to soften it. Darken next to the sleeve again as it comes out. Darkening the top, just softening the tone as it comes around the shape and form of the side of a body. And that looks really, really nice. So now on the front, we can just darken down a little bit, even though there's like a highlight on the front. But it is a black grey jumper, so you've just got to build that up slowly. Now, the blue stripe inside. I'm using the flat part of the front of the pencil. It's very soft, so it means that it'll fill very, very easily. But you can see there, this is the bonus of using an 8B. So now we can soften in the lighter parts. So this is in the shade here, darker underneath. Take that line right up, and we can thicken the blue line as it is in the middle, where that comes up to the lighter grey line. And now we want the ribbing on the bottom. Again, I can just see underneath where we put those basic construction lines. So these are just slightly angled, but then as you come across the front, they become vertical. Now again, I'm just indicating these and being impressionistic. If you want them absolutely exact, it will take you hours. But this is the beauty and joy of doing a drawing like this. You can take as long as you want or be as quick as you want. So there's the edge of the jumper curving up into the hair. Got that shadow coming down. Again, I'm just cross-hatching, building up a bit of tone as the comes around the side of the body. And there, that's looking rather wonderful. Now I'm just going to come in and use this blending stump. And this is softening off a lot of the tone for us. So that we've got no, like where I've just put all that cross hatching, we've now got no hard edges. And that's another way of giving fabric its kind of soft feel. So here we want more tone coming round. But there you've got your stripes at the bottom. Again, just building the dark up. Now I'm going to come in with the 4B pencil. And we can build up the dark on the shadow underneath Luna's necklace. And so this coming down, and we've got a darker line in between. I'm just twisting the pencil a little bit so I've got a sharper point. And then very dark underneath the hair. And we can just grade that in a little bit. Build up some of the shadows in the hair next to the jumper, just soften it so there's not a solid hard line. Now again, the same down here. We can put the shadow underneath the cord of a necklace. And that goes right the way up the jumper. We can just darken it by the hem. Again, I'm just indicating the line and pattern and the ribbing and the weave of the collar. That comes down to the bottom of the tie. That's that V point. Again, just indicating quickly. And that's what you can do to make it stand out. Now again, the line inside the two bits of string. Now I'm going to come in with the dirty putty rubber so as I don't pull off too much of the pencil. And we can just highlight the cord going all the way up. So now back in with the 2B pencil. We've got the cork. So there's the shape of the cork. And behind it, it's not fully shadowed. So now we're going to concentrate on this area down on the cork. Just need a bit of shadow underneath that necklace, the string of a necklace. And again, we need to really just pull up the highlights on that one. Just a little bit, and there's a shadow underneath. Now, there are two little bits of metal rings that go into the cork. So, just taking a bit off, and then that gives us the little bit of rings, using the putty rubber and then putting the tone back in. Now the cork has obviously got the light coming from this side, so I'm using the flat of the pencil and then I'm going to use the putty rubber and really pull the highlight up on the edge and across the top, and then come back in with a 4B pencil, and on the curve just inside the cork we've got that slightly darker edge, and then you've got a little couple of blemishes. That's the texture of the cork, but then you've got this fantastic black shadow just behind, caused by the cork, and then we want to bring that across a bit in that horizontal line because the light coming from this way. And we can just darken that down on the jumper a little bit. But then using the, I mean, you can just use any putty rubber, but using the darker one, we can now indicate the highlights on the front of the jumper. And I'm using a big wide area of the putty rubber. And as that comes down to the bottom, I say I'm just dabbing gently. It just pulls off some little at a time. Again, just the crease right on the corner above the two stripes. And then we can bring in some highlights on the stripes. You can see there's a brighter patch here. And just by dabbing like this, you get the kind of mottled effect of the softness of the jumper. Now again, as we come up, you've got this lovely highlight up onto the shoulder. Where that comes around and then comes down by the V to the top of her chest. And there you can see we've got that highlight really starting to show for us, the three-dimensionality of the jumper. Again, even on the ribbing, just pinch the rubber together and you can just indicate some more light on there. Now again, just come back in with the kitchen roll and you can just gently smooth that out and it just softens it down. But there you can see you've got the light at the front. Now on the jumper, giving it more three-dimensionality. Now come back in with the 4B pencil and we can really edge up the shadow underneath the string, and again right underneath the hair on this side. And then we want some highlights down in these vertical little bands. So I'm just gently pinching the putty rubber, just whacking a few lines in, and it's little touches like this make a huge difference. It's up to you how far you want to take them. Now coming back in with, in fact I'm sharpening it first. I love that electric sharpener. I'm coming back in with the 8B pencil just because it's softer and smoother. And here we can actually put the tones in on Luna's skirt. Again, I'm using the soft side of the pencil and I'm resting my left hand on top of my right so that it's not so low down. So there's less risk of me snapping the pencil as I did so many times earlier. Just so as I've got a little bit more control, and I'm pivoting from my shoulder. You can see my hand going backwards and forwards rather than just trying to use my wrist. You're kind of using your body to create the shades that we want. So here now we've got this darker shade where we've got the pleat and it comes down towards the edge, and you can see at the top we've got that tone coming in, just leaving some of the lighter tone underneath, and it creates all of the shapes that you need. And you see that one goes up and it joins and goes across up to this one on the corner, and even then I just snap the end of my pencil off. Unreal. But we've got crisscross lines, which are these lovely curls. You've got these shadows, and I'm using the flat of the pencil, and that's the curls of a hair creating these crisscross lines on a skirt just on that side. So we bring that down again. Here now we've got a very dark pleat, so we really press that in. It's a little kind of triangle. We've got the sharp edge going down there, and then the sharp edge of the crease of the pleat coming into the dark here. Now at the top we've just got like a kind of nice round shape, and then just some darker shapes showing the fabric, the uneven surface of the fabric. It's not a flat plane of tone. Here we've got this join in the fabric, and then next to it we've got just some little wiggly shapes coming down. And you can just go backwards and forwards, just keep looking and indicating more tone on. And that already you can see is just looking more like the skirt as it comes around. So we've got this dark plane coming down here, and then it lightens off as it comes around. But we just need to darken down this edge, and then here where this fold comes down. And as I say in so many of the videos, it's easier to add tone than it is to take it away. So just build it up slowly. Keep looking. Again, there's like a darker shadow inside that fold that goes down, and then one right next to the hair and the edge of the jumper. And there we've got the lovely tone of the skirt. Again, at the back now, where this crease line is, it's kind of the same tone as here, not as dark. So you can see we've got this dark patch that comes down underneath, and then it just lightens up because we've got light coming from this side. Again, I'm just taking that down to the edge of the paper. And just filling in that tone a little bit. Darkening the centre where we've got this line of dark coming all the way down. Just crisping up around the stripes at the bottom. And then we can just darken them down that little bit more. Again, indicating the shadow shape that's coming down there. And so now we're coming into this sleeve. Again, I'm using the 8B pencil just because it's so soft. And it's just filling in nice and gently these tones and shapes. Now here, these little creases on the sleeve, you can just use the edge of the pencil to just indicate them, and you've got that tone that comes across and becomes darker underneath, and you've kind of got reflected highlights inside there as well, and we'll pull those in a second. And here on the elbow, kind of where her arm goes underneath, it's darker right underneath. And you've got this shape that comes up, and it's lighter here where I'm just shading in lightly, and then you've got a slightly darker part above, and then you've got this darker tone up the side, and that goes up quite close to the edge. We've got this C shape here, and that goes up to the edge of her arm and then comes back in. And you can see there's a darker set of shadows as well inside. So you can just indicate those as they come down over inside the tone. Don't go right onto the edge. Now here we've got this strong crease. We can indicate the crease and the smaller one next to it. And then above here we've got a little bit of shadow. Then we come up, and then this one here, we've got this diamond shape. I'm using the flat edge, and you can see there's a dark rim inside. And you're just using, I haven't turned the pencil at all, you're just using the area where it's gone really flat. Again, the same on this curve, this kind of D shape. And then above it we've got these darker shadows, so here going right the way up to this crisp line at the top. So I'm tilting up and using a sharper edge on the point, but I'm not losing the flat, and that gives me that shadow underneath the crease. And then this comes down, fills in the shadow there, which is darker, and then this crease in between. And again, the shirt, we've got this little pocket of shadow before it curves around. A little crease there. Again, just reflected lights inside the shadows. So here now at the top, we've got the shadow that comes down, and we've got this line, you can see it comes down. We've got a little V here of shadow. But you can see how that shadow now is just darkening inside the sleeve. So that comes down. We've got this C shape of this curl here, and you can see where the crease goes, comes to the edge. Then we've got this soft shadow right to the edge coming down. Now again, the shadow on the sleeve coming down to this, above this triangle, diamond shape. And then the edge of the arm. So now I'm going to come in with a clean piece of the clean area of the kitchen roll, and I'm just going to rub over and soften those darker parts. And it just gives me that really nice soft fabric feel. But then what we need to do is come back in. I'm going to use the smudging stick. Because we've indicated where a lot of these shadow tones are. But because this is already diffused and soft, unlike a pencil, you're not putting more new graphite down. You're using what's already there, and we can soften it and push it around. So we're coming up, and then here at this top part we've got some nice shapes. But again, the smudging, the blending tool is just pushing the pencil around. Again, this darker one, just press on a little bit harder and it darkens it down. And again, inside that crease next to it, got a darker area inside. Then the outside, that little pocket of shadow there, up onto the top part of the sleeve. Down the edge. Again, the dark in this little C shape down the corner. And we can take some of the dark off the shadow areas and actually push that into the shirt. Again, just inside that C shape we've got a little bit more tone. Again, just up the edge, and you can just mess about with this as much as you want, but you can see we've got those lovely reflected lights inside the shadows, because we've got the shadow here and then there's a little bit of reflected light, and the same up here. But now we need to really crisp everything up, and so I'm using the putty rubber. Just pulling it to as fine a point as I can. To put these crisp edges on. And so this one goes all the way up, and you can see how that goes up on inside that fold. And then next to it, this goes right the way up to the top of the sleeve, up to the shoulder. Just pinch it again. Then you come to the shoulder at the top. You've got that strong highlighted edge going over. And just dab it in between those little creases. Again, coming off the top of the shoulder. Right the way down the edge of the sleeve, down this part of the arm. And then there's a real slim highlighted line right by the edge. And this comes all the way down around this little bit at the bottom. Again, just crisp up where this goes around. We can dab off a bit of the highlighted inside part of that fold. And then that goes up to the shoulder. Again, just dabbing some reflected highlights inside the shadow. And this is really it's quite complex light. But just by using a putty rubber, you can see I'm just smudging this on. It gives you the textures that you need. And you're getting that reflected light inside that sleeve area, inside the shadow. So again, on this area, to the edge. And then right down to this C part. So we've got the top, but we've got the bottom part of the C, how it curves around. And then the creases as they go up. You can just draw those lines up and you've got those creases in a shirt. Because Luna's quite a quirky character, so I don't think she kind of irons her shirt in a particular way. And underneath, we've got these little reflected lights in the shirt sleeve going down and underneath. Now, come back in with a 4B pencil. And we can just crisp up the edge of the sleeve into that shadow. And then coming down underneath. Right down to the cuff. Again, we can just darken up that crease there. It's really strong and powerful. And then these shadows as they come underneath, as the arm comes down, and then you've got the little bit of sewing the seam that comes up the sleeve. Inside that lower part. But that's looking quite good. Yeah, we're actually getting a good amount done on the drawing. Now, I've just sharpened my 8B pencil again, and I'm going to try and not snap the end off. He says, we're just snapping it with his finger. But what we're going to do now, we're going to fill the background in, but I'm not going to go jet black, but we are going to fill in a lot of tone. So we need to be careful as we come around her hair and the edge of Luna. And we're just going to be a little bit arty. So this will make the highlights on Luna's hair really stand out. So as we come down, so here we've got these loops of hair. There's the B of the hair down at the bottom. And as this comes down and we've got these fantastic cascading curls. Again, using the flat of the pencil, we can cover quite a large area. And you can see that this is just filling in nice and quickly, and you can see how it's going to make Luna's hair stand out. Now we come across the top. There goes the edge of the pencil. Now I am going to make it slightly darker in various places. We're going to go for a bit of a misty, mysterious background rather than flat black. So here now I'm coming down the hair at the back. I'm just being careful so that I don't obliterate the hair that I've done already. But it means that we can just get to do something that's just nice and a bit more textured and sketchy. So like I say, you just do big sketches like that. My arm is now totally free. And even there I can see, using the side of the pencil, some scratches have gone in the paper, and that's the wood, because the pencil just disappears so quickly. But it also shows up very faintly, the grid lines. But we can. Yeah, there's a cross of grid line there. Again, we can just... It's all part of the joy of the drawing. So here now we've got this C, we've got to have the dark inside. We've got the curve of the hair there. We need, where it comes down, a curl there with dark going in. So now we can fill around these curls. How they come down. Around the bottom of the sleeve and the curls at the back. And then down by the skirt and the bottom of the sleeve. Then we've got this fantastic lock of hair that comes down. Again, I've done that rather quickly, and even that's quite arty in itself, but we need to just fill in some dark on this side. Going out to the edge. And where the curls are. Now, if we come in with the kitchen roll and we just push the pencil around, we get that really soft, ghosted tone. And that's actually rather lovely. That's really lovely. And it, again, something so quick can make such a huge difference, but you kind of leave it, you can leave it till the very end, otherwise you've got a lot of tone to potentially keep smudging as you are working on your drawing. And you can actually push it so where, and I can still see a little bit where the grid lines were and where the wood of the pencil scratched in. You can actually really press on with your finger and push the graphite actually into the paper. Now you can leave it just very scratchy if you want, but this is Loopy Luna in a sense, and she is rather a mysterious character. So having that kind of a background, again you can see the cascading hair now so much better. It's actually really lovely. So again, I'm now softening it right around the top of her head. And this is now final detail stages. You know, this is fiddling and faff time, which is good and fun. But we've now pushed all of that pencil around. And so now we need to come in and just pull up the highlights again. So I'm going to start at the top, where her hair is and her parting. Right at the top here, on the edge. This comes down round behind the back of her ear. Highlighted part inside, coming down to a cheek. Then these fine lines by the earring. And then coming down the back of her hair, we can crisp up the edge of the shirt again. And then we've got all of these curls that come down. And you've got that one there. Now you've got some very, very fine wispy lines. So I'm really pinching the rubber to just indicate, and then I'm just literally following the kind of line of some of the curves and just indicating some of the hairs, the very fine wispy hairs coming off from Luna's cascading golden locks. And just a few feathered up into the top. And you can just see that area of light really working for you now. Again, the same on this side. And there's an incredible amount of detail in this hair, side of a cheek. And you could spend hours just doing the hair. So again, these are the curls. We've got this kind of B down here. And then this D shape. And then just lots of curls coming down and cascading into the darkness. Now, we need to add some more tone, but we can do that using the blending stump. So, if you kind of squint your eyes, you'll see where you need some more tone. But just draw as if you were drawing with the pencil. And this gives us the shape and contour of all the curls that are coming down. So you can see that's just put the extra tone in that we need. And it's just about building up layers of tone. So we put this down first using a blending stub. You can use a cotton bud. There's so many other things that you can use. Tone on these curls that are coming down, it's got to be underneath with the highlight on the top. Same here on this C, you've got the shadow underneath and on the inside. And the bit above, and as we come up into a hair, and so you can see here we've got much little darker area here. Again, the same underneath her left cheek. Now just very lightly. Now if I come in with the soft edge of the 2B pencil, we can see here we've got some darker shadows. Now again, like we did with the 8B, you're using a very soft part, but you don't want it to go too dark, but you're just indicating these shadow lines on the inside of the curls. And so there we have just more contours. And just showing the shape of the curls. And again, just keep working in the direction of the hair. And that's what makes it real. Now you can copy these exactly if you want, or you can just be kind of impressionistic to give a general idea of the curls. So there's that little B. There's the D shape, little triangle of dark above it. And we've got another D shape here at the bottom where this curve goes. And already you can see we've got now much more shape and form in the hair as it comes down. So if we do the same on the back, in fact, completely missed a bit. I just got a clean bit of the toilet roll. Just missed a bit to smudge down that corner. Again, we're just giving an indication. If you want absolutely photographic hair, you will spend days on such a beautiful amount of long blonde hair. I'm just giving you the basics on how to create the effect. Now, if you want to do super fine detail, it just takes a long time. Again, just adding some tone. And then if you come in and use the point of the pencil, because the hair's so fine, this is the 2B, like we did up here, you can indicate some nice fine lines. Now you could even do this with a 2H, but I'm just using this 2B pencil. And just keep twisting it and you keep a sharp point. And we can bring some of the lines right the way up to the top of her head. Can darken down that little bit there. And then we've got this lovely shape on the edge. Just delineate that up. Now very, very gently in this tone, just indicating some more of the hairs and the shape as it cascades down. And you can cross over them because that's what hair does. As long as you're not pressing on too dark, you're not going to have major problems. You know, if you really pressed on and put a dark line in there, it would stand out and not be particularly brilliant. So we come back in again with the putty rubber. In fact, we just need some more, just looking, we need some more curls down here. Then we come back in with the putty rubber. Just keep it clean and sharp. And we can just indicate a few highlights in the curves in the right places. And some thin straggly bits of hair. And then coming up, highlights at the top. And you can see just the volume and the three-dimensionality of a blonde hair really starting to stand out. Again, crisp up that edge. And then the parting and the hair at the back. And this is where you can just keep having fun for a long time. But eventually you just have to go, yep, that's enough, that'll do. So we've got these fantastic little bits of hair that are in the darkness at the back. We've pulled them out, and then we can just add some little lines in. And it just gives that little bit of definition. That looks rather lovely. So now we're on to literally final details. I've just sharpened my 2B pencil and we want the darker shadow on this collar coming down. We've got the crease line there and a couple of little shadows. Darker shadow under the tie. We can crisp up right next to the neck. And then we've got a slightly darker shadow underneath the chin. And then that real darker shadow on the front of the chin. Little kind of triangle underneath the bottom lip. And then just coming up the side of a cheek. I mean, just round that shape underneath. And going up into the edge of a neck where it joins the hair at the back. Just delineate the nostrils a little bit. Increase that shadow coming over from the cork. Then we've got this bit on the collar. So here we've got the shadow that comes down. Shadow underneath the collar, and then this little oval shape. Dark underneath a right cheek by earrings. Again, we're just filling little bits in very carefully. Coming up into the hair. And that's actually really lovely, but you've got these fantastic reflected lights. Here we've got now this shadow coming up by her ear. Just got to be careful. I'm just using the tip of the pencil very carefully. Bringing that up. And just filling the cheek a little bit, and then by the eye. Little bit by the tear duct, the side of a nose. Now I'm coming in with the 4B pencil because we've got darker parts on the tie. It's just easier with the softness of the 4B pencil. We can fill that in, then where that comes down the front. A little bit of shadow under the collar. And now I'm going to use the dirty putty rubber. I'm just pulling it into a nice point. To very carefully and gently lift off the pencil on the front of her neck. In line with the edge of her shirt. And that light goes all the way up. And then we've got this highlight underneath. Again, I'm just lifting this off and the edge of a cheek. Very, very carefully. And then I'm just going to come back in. Again, you've got to be very careful with this. And I'm just pushing the pencil using the smudging tool very lightly. We've got the shape of a jaw down to that reflected highlight on the bottom of a cheek. And that's looking pretty good. So now we just got that highlight down there. We just pulled off with the putty rubber. Just give it the shadow underneath. That's coming from the earring. Two little highlights on that ring. Now, this is just simply final fiddling. Do you know, overall, I'm rather happy with that. I think that's quite nice. Again, just darkening these shadows in here. We've got this little highlight on the collar. Bit of dark right next to it, to the hair. And you've got highlight on the top, and you've got this oval. There's the shape, and then you've got the kind of reflected highlights inside that shadow coming down a collar. But that pretty much, here we've got some shadow in the stripes, crisp up the side of that stripe, same there. But that is Luna Lovegood. I hope you've had fun doing that drawing. It's been really lovely, especially with the background, and it's just good fun to actually do this, and it's an absolute joy to teach you to draw. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed drawing Luna Lovegood. Please do like and subscribe, tick the bell to be notified when there's new videos, and I'll see you in the next drawing video. Ta-da!